crazy. It's been about the easiest bow kill of my entire existence.
Brr. A little chilly. A little chilly this AM. Now, I started off having a good sleep. I zonked right out. And then woke up at midnight. Dong! I think I was awake till 2 in the morning or something. Doesn't that suck? Don't you hate it when that happens? You're finally really, really tired and you feel yourself slipping away. It's like, oh yeah. Oh man, I'm going to have a good night's sleep tonight. Then you wake up. Oh well. It's always a positive, right? At least I woke up. Have a new day. Another day. Another day. Excuse me. Now, what's going on in the world today? Probably quite a bit. And as usual, I had something really important I was going to bring up, and then all of a sudden my mind went blank on the way out to the shop. Oh well, whatever. Just going down, because I know there's a handful of emails I forgot. Just the way it goes, right? I've had some people, I think a handful of people out there is unfortunate that think that I'm intentionally skipping over emails. It's not the case. It's exactly what I do in the morning. Get my first coffee. I go to my inboxes because you guys seem to find every single email avenue there might be. I'll go surf through my info@howthunt.com, which I don't even know who has that email, and boom, there'll be emails from you guys in there spread around amongst, I don't know, a couple thousand junk emails, and then I gotta really surf in there and find, oh, there's one. I have to get in there, whatever, I'll find it, I'll copy it, and I'll paste it in my notes. That is exactly how I select emails to go into the notes. That's it. And then I got my usual email, and I don't know how, all the junk, it's funny how the junk email gets in, isn't it? And now I have to go through my inboxes in the usual one, share my story, tell my story, howthunt.com, and then there will be, my God, there will probably be, I don't know, a dozen or more a day just of emails asking to promote products. And then I got to sift through all those. And then I'm reading. Oh, there's one. Boom. Open it up. Copy it without reading it. Boom. Slam on my notes. Keep on going. Uh-oh. Who's this? Morning. All right. Oops. That was an important phone call about my boat. But anyway, that is how I select your emails. So, I don't. I don't. And still in the beginning, what was I getting? I was literally getting hundreds of frickin' emails, man. And I'm just copying them all and pasting them so I don't lose them. Copy, paste them, right? And then how do I miss them? It's easy. You know, go down. I'm like, oh shit, I'm running out of time. Okay, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go hit the shop. And then, and as I'm sitting here, emails are coming in. More emails are coming in, and they're going down the list, and they're getting lost down there. And then I need more time to crack that open again and go find them all. And then I need time to sift through the garbage. Then I need time to select all the garbage emails, mark them as spam. It's a lot of time on top of my regular shit. So there you go. If you are someone who sent your email in to me and you're very frustrated and you think that maybe possibly, I'm going to move this camera, maybe possibly your email quote wasn't good enough or I bypassed it because I didn't want to read it. It's not the case. Everybody gets heard, right? Everybody gets heard here. It's just, it's an amazing monster that we have all created. Am I complaining? Nope. No, I'm not. It's a very, very good thing, but it requires patience on both sides of the street, right? Now, enough of that. Let's get some voices heard. I'm starting off with the late, great Bobby Short's going to speak again today. Isn't that great? She's going to speak again today. Where we left off yesterday, and this is titled The Rock Apes, Powell's Apes, and the Ngoi Rung of Quang Tri, Thua Thien, and Quang Nam provinces, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. Excuse me. The content for this chapter was originally to be about sightings reported in and around military installations in North America. I was reminded that there are other life forms believed to be similar to the North American Sasquatch elsewhere in the world, reported by U.S. soldiers, veterans of the Vietnam conflict. In keeping with the military flavor of this chapter and references to air-covered homins, I'm including the pertinent American GI testimonies of that war that were kept by various collectors, including the letters I received. American soldiers used nicknames like Rock Apes during the 1960s and 70s Vietnam conflict, which described an unknown to them creature about 1 meter to 1.5 meters tall. 1 meter equals 3.28 feet, resembling a hair-covered entity thought to be an ape, with the exception it was larger than an ape, less hairy, tail less, and to their great surprise, they walked upright. It did so in an unexpected normal human way, yet they looked like walking orangutans minus the bulbous gut. The hair was described as black or reddish orange. Powell's ape. Initially, I found an old newspaper entry that led to my interest in what our American military personnel were observing in the jungles of Vietnam. The article was published in the Army Reporter, 27th April 1970. The headline was, "Ape Story Lingers, Cam Ran Bay, Vietnam." C-A-M-R-A-N-H, Bay, Vietnam. Quote, "With binoculars and sonar, people probe Loch Ness for its monster expeditions, search the Himalayas for the abominable snowman, and the guards at the depot here keep a watch for Powell's ape. It has been nearly 3 years since the monster was almost seen by..." What? It has been nearly 3 years since the monster was almost seen. That sounds funny. I never heard that put that way before. I almost seen it. Was almost seen by a bleary-eyed guard. Detecting movement on the perimeter, the guard fired and the beast fled. When morning came, the area was examined and a footprint and a trail of blood were found. The footprint was neither human nor ape. A picture was taken to the track, but no one could decide who or what had made it. It was long before Captain Powell, then a depot man and company commander, found his name associated with the monster. All that remains now is a small photograph of the ammunition area's orderly room wall. On the ammunition area's orderly room wall. Perhaps the legend of Powell's ape is all there ever was. But the guards of the ammunition area here still have something to think about besides Charlie. In an alternate military unit, a former GI posted an alert to one of the early NOM boards using the term Powell's ape after one of the creatures wandered into a restricted zone during the middle of the night. It read, "All hell broke loose when the dark figure continued to advance into the far end of the restricted zone, and it was fired upon. Powell was the name of the platoon leader. When daylight came, we realized we had blown the living shit out of a large 7-foot ape. It was a male with the face of a wild man, and not much else left of it to describe of the stinking thing. We poured fuel over the remains and set it afire." Whoa. The Battle of Khe Sanh. Khe Sanh is the district capital of Hoang Hoa District, Quang Tri Province, Vietnam. It's located 63 kilometers west of Dong Ha. The horrendous battle at Khe Sanh occurred between January and July of 68. It is believed today that the Rock Apes of that era still inhabit the caves at the Khe Sanh and its underground tunnels, referred to by enlisted men as rat holes. Few people are willing to enter them, least of all any source of mine. Field archaeologist, biologist Dr. Joe Watanabe Asian expert on ancient peoples of the world, interviewed a Burmese zoologist who found fresh tracks at the entrance of one of the Khe Sanh caves in 1994. The track size was intimidating, to the extent that nobody's willing to enter the darkness of the cave. Upon seeing the plaster cast of the track, Watanabe, ever quick of wit, declared walking into the dark cave was not wise without an M2 flamethrower. The early U.S. Army model of the portable M2 flamethrower was carried in the soldier's backpack and sprayed napalm forth an intense flame of fire toward enemies at rat holes. In this case, it was used to hunt and flush out Powell's mystery monster, and Charlie, thus the soldier's cry, quote, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning," end quote. The Laotian Vietnamese wild man isn't easily stopped by conventional firepower. They were stopped immediately with fire, mainly because they are haired, much like North American Sasquatch. Watanabe said of the rock ape or wild man, quote, "They are strange looking. Some are smart, others are mute or dumb by some degree of mental deficiency. They have olive-skinned faces with distorted Asian expression, and they clearly understand fire and the dangers it represents to a man covered in long hair," end quote. I wonder if that may be due to some serious inbreeding, maybe, possibly. The GIs testified that when they opened fire on a few of the rock apes, not much was left. What? The American GIs called them rock apes or bloody hell apes, while others called them Powell's apes. The indigenous people called them Nguoi Rung, Nguoirung. Here I am, I can barely pronounce Hispanic shit. Now I gotta try my slinging some Vietnamese out. Good luck. Nguoi Rung is pronounced Nui Run. Of course it is. I knew it. Nui Run. It translates forest man, jungle man. The terms Powell's ape as GI jargon for rock ape. Powell was the name of the platoon leader who took command when his men encountered a troop of rock apes. They were observed marching single file up a game trail. Yes, marching bipedally, single file up a trail near Khe Sanh. Wouldn't that be something to see? The Vietnamese hairy wild men, Nui Rung, were, according to Dr. Joe Watanabe, also known to our U.S. Marines during the siege of Khe Sanh. Perimeter sensors around military outposts were often activated by an occasional elephant, a tiger, and even the hairy rock apes that launched whatever they could throw, mostly rocks. They were pretty accurate too. Here's another little story titled "Rock Ape Tosses Marine." Sergeant Thomas M. Jacobs, Vietnam War veteran, was surprised when a band of rock apes threw rocks at his platoon. He was aware of the stories about them and became quite weary of the creatures after one of the rock apes tossed a Marine off of a rock pile. The creatures were dark in color, stocky, and quite muscular. The creature would burst out of the jungles early in the morning and rail at the men, yell, scream, and shake their fists at the soldiers. Jacob said in a recorded interview for the Discovery Channel that the creature expressed human behavior and took great exception to the soldiers' presence in the jungle. In the same video, Professor Vo Kui, probably Voki, confirmed that there were wild men living in the jungles of Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and they were very aggressive. They walked upright like man and were not quadrupedal. There was another story similar in nature to the capture of a wild man that happened in neighboring Laos. A helicopter came up from the military base to the high mountains bringing something strange. Professor Kui, Q-U-Y, called it a large monkey, but it was much too large to be a monkey. At approximately 5.5 feet tall, continuing on, the professor said the creature was flown from there to Da Nang. These particular accounts match stories in the press about large primates interfering with military operations in the jungles in November of 1966. Quezon U.S. Combat Base, Vietnam, 1968. Division Intelligence Representative Major Robert B. Coolidge and Regimental Intelligence Officer Major Jerry Hudson recognized that the key to detecting source targets came by watching the progression of movement from one sensor to another sensor. Definite patterns could be observed. For Company D, 1st Battalion, 26th Marines, the road to Quezon was riddled with caves that were inhabited by maniac, hair-covered rock apes. And the NVA, the Army of North Vietnam, regular troops trained and equipped like soldiers by the North Vietnamese, the VC or Viet Cong guerrillas or locals that fought with the NVA. Quote, "It's really late and I've been guarding the line all night. Bebop has some pretty bad dysentery, so I've been letting him get some extra sleep. He did the same for me a few nights ago when I had a terrible headache. Anyway, I decided I'd write a few paragraphs just to try and stay awake. I probably won't be able to read any of this. Later since it's so dark, but I don't have enough water to make coffee. And I have to find a way to stay alert. We had some noise out in the wire before, another probe, I guess, unless it was rock apes. There are a lot of them in the jungle around here. One of them actually came right through the perimeter once. It scared the guy who saw it so much that the kid almost passed out before firing a whole magazine at him. People laughed pretty hard about it the next day because even with all of those bullets at short range, he missed. No dead rock ape in front of his position. If the guy in the next hole hadn't seen the whole thing, I would have figured that the kid was making it all up. But I'd be really scared too if some huge, furry thing on two legs decided to lurch right up to me in the middle of the night. Sergeant Kurt Bowley, Company D. Because of the tigers in the jungle and other land-dwelling predators, it should be noted that apes and monkeys nest up high in the trees. If rock apes were really apes, what were they doing scrounging around on the ground in the middle of the night? The behavior is contrary to all we know about the great apes. I am reminded of the insistence of one biologist who said they were not rock apes at all, but more like some upright walking monkey men. Go figure. One more. More Quezon references to rock apes. A Marine by the name of Castillo, Security Platoon, 26th Marines HQ. Quote, Quezon Combat Base was to the south of us. That night, a trip flare went off on the north side of us. Costello went to see what he thought would be the VC, as the flares had been going off for weeks. When he got there, he was told it was furry rock apes that seemed to have manes down their backs. End quote. Creepy. The description didn't make much sense, except that I have in my files an account where multiple informants observed a Sasquatch, they said had a mane of hair down its upper back. All black, lengthy hair. In separate incident, a GI offered this description. Quote, an oblong head framed its hair-covered face. Dark, deep-set eyes lay beneath a prominent brow, and they did nothing to complement the heavy jowls and angry mouth. As it stepped into a small clearing, we could see that matted, reddish-brown hair ran down the creature's neck and covered most of its body. Whatever it was, it stood at least 5 feet tall, had broad shoulders, long, thick, muscular arms, and a heavy torso, and it walked upright. That, quote, the things walked upright, end quote, was recurring comment among those who saw the so-called rock apes. In the small clearing, it stopped and studied the Americans. What the hell is that? Someone called out from behind the Linderer. It's a rock ape, said another member of the squad. Another member disagreed. No, it ain't. He said, I've seen rock apes, and that sure as hell isn't a rock ape. It's an orangutan. Well, isn't it? Linderer asked while the others kept their eyes glued on the strange creature. Well, if it is, then he can't read a map. There are no orangutans in Vietnam. Orangutans in the wild don't walk upright as normal course of behavior. They are knuckle walkers. Orangs are rarely terrestrial. Swinging in trees is where orangs feel safest, at night. The orangs nest in trees. They wouldn't be walking upright about a clearing at night. Why? Because tigers prowl at night. As I mentioned before, orangs are found in the island countries of Sumatra and the Kalimantan and Borneo, all islands away from the mainland. There are no great apes in the wilds of China, Laos, Cambodia, or Vietnam. The other point is, apes don't walk upright in single file in large troop contingencies. As an aside, small, tailless monkeys known as Barbary macaws are found in Morocco and Algeria. Those monkeys have been called rock apes. Macaques, however, are not apes. They are monkeys. Also, macaque monkeys on Gibraltar are also known as rock apes. The macaque adults are much too small, 1.54 feet, to fit the physical height description American GI soldiers gave. If not an identifiable non-human primate, then what was it these soldiers saw? Why then would an upright walking, hair-covered entity be called an ape? They were not described as unusually tall either, but described more in line with the diminutive indigenous people of those countries. They were not called apes by locals, but by Western man, American GIs in this case. All right. Okay, she goes on with a bunch of history of people, speaking of people in villages, and descriptions of monkeys. And I will leave it here for another day, all right? Now, there you go. There's a lot of people still alive that were in the Vietnam conflict around the globe, for certain. And I wonder how many of you men and women may possibly be sitting here listening to all of this and nodding your head, knowing what you know and knowing what you saw, but not overly compelled to knee-jerk right into a YouTube channel to share exactly what you saw. And I get it, and that's fine. Considering all the other horrors that you probably witnessed over there, you probably don't want to think about those days anymore, right? But anyway, if somebody is out there and they want to share up, I wonder how many people, here's a good question, I wonder if there's anyone out there who was in Vietnam during the conflict, or even today, from North America, that's on this channel, and you saw one of these upright walking beings in Vietnam, referred to as a rock ape, and maybe you also have seen what is referred to here in North America as a Sasquatch, a Sabe person. Wouldn't that be interesting if somebody write in that's physically seen both of them? Holy shit, would I be interested to hear from you if that is the case? Without a doubt. But you know, one thing you can take note from the majority of the Vietnam rock ape sightings is I do not believe we've had anyone say the eyes were glowing red and that sucker disappeared. Right? So far, I mean, once we get deeper into this, maybe possibly we'll hear of troops hearing something paralleling them in the bush, but they can't see them. But we haven't heard that yet either from overseas in Vietnam with these particular beings. Right? I don't think. Interesting. Interesting. Without a doubt. 100. There is no question about it. There are numerous unexplainable living things, beings, people here around us, without a doubt. Now, why? But then again, why the hush hush about the rock apes? Right? I mean, I don't see why that should be such a big deal, but obviously it is to keep that mostly not publicly acknowledged. Why is that? Right? Why is that? I mean, it's not like these beings have red glowing eyes, 10 feet tall, able to become transparent, able to run 60 plus miles an hour beside a car, looking in the window. Right? There's no glowing balls of light associated with the Rock Ape sighting so far. Right? So it sounds like a complete different category. Possibly. So why the hush-hush about the Rock Apes? Big deal. So you got an upright being that runs around at nighttime with confidence, throws rocks and sticks at people. I don't understand why that would not be publicly acknowledged. Why not? Or is it related somehow, right? And then there's the cave thing. Can you imagine having to be a cave dweller? What a shitty flavor of existence. I don't give a shit what you are. Living in a cave would suck ass. That is like hell on earth. That means you are the lowest of low possibly, because you have to live in a frickin' dark, cold, dank, spider, cobweb, bat, and guano infested hole in the ground. Right? Well, meanwhile, this beautiful blue sky is right here. The beautiful forest, the mountains, snow, water, rivers. Right? But you have been given. You have to live in a hole in the ground. That doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to me. You gotta live in a hole in the ground, although the sky is blue. The views are beautiful. The earth is gorgeous. You gotta live in that hole in the ground to get in there. You know? Now, let's see. I gotta go back down the list because I know I've missed emails, as usual, but I find them eventually. I get to them. This is from, I don't know who this is from. This is titled, Shot at One. And Telepathy is the title of this email. Here we go. Hi Steve, I'm Jeff. I'm 71 and I've been a bushman most of my life. I got my first gun when I was 12. I saw a Sasquatch when I was 16 for about 2 or 3 minutes. That's a long time. 2 or 3 minutes, that's like 2 or 3 hours. Equivalent. Especially when time slows down and your adrenaline flows. That was a long time. I was hunting alone, and back then you didn't need all the crap paperwork to own a gun or buy shells. On this day, I was upland bird game hunting. Get this. It was where the West Edmonton Mall is today. No shit. Cool. Man, I think I'm getting old too, because that reminds me, I used to bow hunt a place where right now is nothing but paved parking lots, hundreds of cars, hundreds of people, condos, and frickin' shopping centers too. It's a weird thing to witness. This creature was moving west along the south side of a windrow that was on the north side of the field. For those who don't know, that is a row of trees that are there to keep the wind from blowing the topsoil off of the growing fields. When I first saw it, I could not believe what I was looking at. I first thought that I was wrong. I could not believe, sorry, a couple typos maybe. I could not be seeing what I was actually seeing. This thing was huge. I thought it was a man at first. Then I looked at it through my scope. Really? A helicopter going straight over top of me. All of a sudden you hear gunfire. Kidding. Helicopter right over the house. This thing was huge. I thought that it was a man at first. Then I looked at it through my scope. Ran past a granary that I was very familiar with because this granary leaked grain, and the Hungarian partridge used to gather there to feast on that grain. It made my bird hunting so easy. Alright, so a few of our sleuths are going to go, so you're hunting birds, but you're looking at it through a scope. Doesn't add up. And I'm not saying you're not. This isn't true. I'm just saying, I wonder if you meant your... Oh, hold on a minute. Now it makes sense. Just a second. I jumped ahead of myself. Sorry. That granary was 12 feet high, and this thing was almost as tall as the granary. It ran the length of the field. I was on the south side of the grain field in the bushes, so it didn't see me. I admit that at 16, I did something that was stupid. I took a shot at it with my Cooey 22. There you go. There's the scope. It was stupid, I know. But I figured that no one would believe me unless I dropped it. I was, and still am, an expert marksman, but my chances of a headshot at that distance was slim, considering the speed and the movement of it. I only ever talked about it once with my now late brother. Other than that, I pretty well forgot about it. Holy shit! My first gun ever was a Cooey 22 as well, single shot. No scope though. Now, I want to discuss telepathy. Who the F came up with that stupid, quote, mind speak, end quote? This is off topic but relevant. I and my brother and two of our best friends were abducted by aliens in 1970. Now, to a lot of possibly to the audience, don't get turned off so quick. All right? This has been proven that this shit is going down, and it has been proven easily on the face of the planet today. These aliens spoke telepathically to us and controlled us by projecting fear into us. A story for another time. Holy shit. I learned how to overcome that control. In another alien encounter, I called on Jesus to give me power and authority over those who were trying to control me. At that instant, Jesus appeared to me and gave me the ability to mentally project fear into the aliens, all of them, including the ones who were close to me and the ones who were in the spacecraft. The ones near me started to scream like a wounded rabbit. That noise scared me, and for a few seconds I lost control of them, and they regained control of me. That was just enough time for them to escape. I tried using telepathy one time when I was meditating to call my dog. It worked. He came to me and waited any further command. I then commanded him telepathically to lie in his bed, and he did. So, Steve, I believe that we all have the ability to communicate telepathically and to tell these Sasquatch to F off, and even force them to do so by projecting fear into them. Many times I saw their structures in the woods, especially where I used to fish, about 20 miles upstream from where the Berland River runs into the Athabasca. I spent a lot of time hunting around the Athabasca. One time a buddy and I were fishing there when he just lost it mentally. We were cutting through the bushes back to our campsite as it was getting dark. Because to go back the way that we came would have meant about a 7-mile hike versus a 1.5-mile hike. And had we gone back the way we come, and I'm not sure that we could have found where the trail joined up with the river, as usual, I had a shotgun with me, which was rather important at that time because we had passed an elk kill that would have been from a bear. But it was not what a normal bear kill looks like. Bones were broken, and it was torn apart. Anyway, my buddy said that he had so much fear he could not contain himself. He kept insisting that we go back the way we came. I have a built-in ability to know exactly where I am in the bush, and I figured that we were only 100 yards from our camp. I told him that if he wanted to go back the way we come, he could. But I had the gun, and I knew that he was deathly scared of bears, and I was going this way. He shut up and followed me. It turned out that we were only 75 yards from our camp. The fear that he expressed when he had his breakdown was just not logical. He knew and trusted my skills as a bushman, but he was almost crying and pleading. He apologized to me later. Now it makes me wonder if he was in telepathic contact with a Sasquatch to just so totally lose it. I hope that this adds the information that we all seek. Thanks, Jeff. Holy shit, Jeff! you got my attention, man. I want to hear more from you, if you would. And I do not, from what I've learned, this abduction thing is as real as taxes and death. Without a doubt. So, yeah. You want to share more, man? I'm all over it. I'm all over it. What questions would I have? How long ago was the last time you had that shit go down? What did these people look like? Could you feel it before it went down? Did you know something was up? Did you know it was coming again? Yeah. What did they do to you, if anything? Where did they take you, if somewhere? Did they ever speak fluently with you? You know, I got a million questions. And I believe on another topic, well, similar, but the fear thing. The fear thing is starting to possibly fill a bit of a gap I've got for my journey. Because I haven't had that paralyzing fear. I've never had it. I've been scared shitless. Without a doubt. I've been scared shitless a handful of times in my lifetime, without a doubt. But the flavor of fear that people describe here, I cannot relate to myself yet. Hopefully I don't. If I do, I hope I override it. Now, I wonder why I have not experienced that flavor of fear. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh yeah, whatever, you were panting scared when you heard that noise elk hunting by yourself last year. Yeah, I did. I did. But I wasn't paralyzed with, I did not feel like I was going to die. I didn't feel impending doom. I didn't feel like my life was threatened, and I did not feel like I was paralyzed. You know, like I wasn't absolutely I wasn't losing control of anything. I just knew, holy shit, something huge is here right now. I'm not into this. I'm laying on the ground in a small tent, surrounded by timber. It basically felt like I was an ant on the sidewalk in New York, getting ready to be squished at any second. Right? I think my fear more came from, what flavor of fear was that? That was knowing something was not right. Something very intimidating is here. And I couldn't tell, was it making its presence intentionally known for me? I don't know. Because at first I thought it sounded quite a ways away. When I thought I heard something, you know, rustling around in your tent and you're making a noise with the sleeping bag material beside your tent and everything getting all comfortable, and all of a sudden you hear something. Oh, what was that? Especially with my ringing ears, right? Then you kind of lay there and start to doze off, but you're listening. You can't stop yourself. When you think you hear something in the woods, and I know a lot of you out there know what I'm talking about, especially when you have seen odd things in the woods, you will never, ever not have a part of your brain listening specifically for odd sounds. You won't. You just can't stop yourself. Anyway, and then all of a sudden I heard, I can't even describe the noise. That's the frustrating thing. I don't even know what the hell that noise was. At first I thought, is that a dump truck? Is that a dump truck? The tailgate of a dump truck slamming shut? Or is that a train slamming into another car behind it? Locking up trailer? I don't know. I can't tell you what that sound was. It wasn't tree knocks. It wasn't roaring or anything. But it sure was big. Whatever was making that sound in the timber behind me. It sounded like, at first I thought it's got to be heavy equipment. It's got to be a dump truck or something. A huge dump truck or backhoe combo. I don't know. See, I can't describe what the sound was, but I knew it wasn't normal. I didn't know what it was, and it was big. It was substantial. Whatever was causing that sound was frickin' holy shit. I'm out of here. Not into that. Whatever's doing this, I'm not into it. I left. That's what I'm getting at is, other than that, why am I not experiencing that kind of fear? You know what I mean? And why, with all of the days, thousands of days, I spend in remote British Columbia. Why am I only having limited experiences? And I'm not seeking them out, right? But still, neither is 99% of the population that goes out intentionally to seek out experiences with these beings. And a lot of people have shit happen. Wait, what am I saying? That's wrong. I mean, the majority of the people that are having direct experiences with these beings are not looking for it. But they're having it anyways, in their face, running beside a vehicle, whatever, standing there looking at them, chasing them, paralleling them, spitting on their neck in a tree stand, being screamed at, your rib cage. I mean, it's thousands and thousands of people, right? But how come that flavor of shit doesn't happen to me more often than not? And that's a big question I have for myself. Is it because I do not have that flavor of fear in me? Maybe. What I'm saying is, for my puzzle, feeding off of fear, something to do with our fear. I am sincerely being convinced that this has something to do with us individually. How susceptible you are to panic fear, losing control fear, not thinking right fear. I wonder, right? Is that why I am not having above average numbers of terrifying experiences while I'm in remote British Columbia? Is that why? Maybe. I'm thinking it's gotta be. I'm thinking. Am I even making sense right now? Babble, babble. We're at the same coffee table, right? Nothing scripted. Excuse me. I'll just sit here bullshitting with each other and learning. Who's next? This is titled Eastern Canada. Hello, Steve. I'm going to tell you my story. I am in Eastern Canada, Nova Scotia, Dartmouth to be precise. In Dartmouth, there is a park called Shuby Park. Did you read this? Was this the guy that hit the golf course or whatever? Why is this not marked as red? And why is it in here again? No, I think this is just another similar one. Sorry. In Dartmouth, there is a park called Shuby Park. It's just, or should I say, close to the outskirts of town. Still a lot of people's houses around. Like the park comes up to houses. So one fall, 10 or so years ago, I went out to the park for a fall walk. It's getting late in the afternoon and it was getting ready to snow a little. Now mind you, me and my little girl came here every second day to feed the ducks and little birds. So this time I was walking a little farther out the paths where they come close to a 100 series highway, and some off the push-off of the dirt from the making of the highway comes close to the pass. So, one of those push-off has a path from the park like a lookout. You can see the start of the path, and you can look out over the pass. So, I climb this path, and when I get to the top and look down, where I came from, here is this hairy thing looking up at me. It was about 7 feet tall, easily 500 pounds. I was like, no effing way. He looked at me for about 10 seconds. Then something in my mind said, look behind you. So when I did, there's nothing there but open blueberry patches. I looked back at the thing and it was gone. So where I'm at, I can see for about 200 feet in all directions, but to my left, which is a stand of trees about 20 feet thick, and a path way down the path on the other side. That was where this thing had to have run for me not to see it. So I book it down to the path, through the trees, to see if this thing is running. I get to the bottom, nothing there. It had to have disappeared. I said, got to get the F out of here before it gets dark. When I get back to the van, I remembered that just a year or so ago, a man driving his bike in the park went missing, and they never even found his bike or any sign of him. Well, that's my story, Steve. I hope you read it on your YouTube. Best wishes, Doug Horn. Sorry if it's too hard to read, Steve. Very late when I was writing it. Piece of cake, man. Look behind you while I disappear. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? Why do they say look behind you? So that they can book it. Why is that? That's a very prominent pattern, right? I heard a noise behind me. I looked and I looked back, gone. Lots of people said I heard a voice in my head. Turn, whatever, look back, like you just said. Look back, look back, look back, it's gone. Why? Now, I also, it's such a strong pattern. It's happened so many times when people blink, gone. Look to the right, look back, gone. I've been wondering this for a long time. I think I've nearly convinced myself years ago that if you were to come across one of these people with your eyes locked on them, I have a funny feeling that maybe, possibly, as long as your eyes are locked on them and you don't take them away, you can say, hey, 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 to your friend and go, look at this right here. Even though you might hear rocks or trees or shit breaking and smashing like crazy behind you. And if you can concentrate hard and long enough to not be distracted and know ahead of time, nope, keep your eyes locked on that sucker right there and don't even blink. And see how long you can keep them there for, right? If you have balls of frickin' titanium to do that. But that's what I've always thought. If you got your eyes on one of these people, you got them. You've got them. And if you can push your way through the commotion caused around or beside you and keep your eyes locked on them and say to your friend or partner, get over here, look, 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 look. I can't look away. Look where I'm pointing. Why is that? Right? Not a question. We don't really hear too many questions there's a lot of questions that don't get asked, although I feel they should be asked. People don't look at various angles except for the typical same ones. Got dermal ridges, making footprints, man, almost deep enough to make a plaster cast. Got some hair samples. He was pulling branches to move. Right? Put me to sleep now. Why do they need you to look away to vanish? Something that can move 65 miles an hour or whatever it is. A being that can do that shit, why would it need you to look away? Get your eyeballs off of being locked on it. Why does that person need you to look away so it can go? Anything that can run on 2 feet, even 40, whatever, I don't give a shit. It doesn't need us to do shit. It just needs to leave. But it needs you to look away from it. It needs your eyes to get off of it. Right? Another thing too, your eyes are locked on these beings. They start swaying back and forth. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. I can't get out of this. I can't get out of this sight. Oh shit. His eyes are locked on me. I can't get out of this. Maybe. I don't know. Right? I'm just trying to make sense of it. Until somebody sits me down and has a little conversation between my ears and goes, look, this is why we can't do this. This is why we sway back and forth. And this is why we don't talk to you guys fluently. Sentence. Conversations. I'm babbling. There you go. Nova Scotia, right in your houses. The typical description and reaction from the being. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for signing in. Okay, what's this one? Trying to provide answers is the title of this email. Steve, I will go back and combine all the emails I've sent in response to questions and comments from your shows. I came in on you reading an email about Bergstrom Air Force Base in Austin. I lived here back at the time that was mentioned. Then you said, you read it already. Well, I hadn't heard it. If you don't want to read it again, maybe forward it to me. For you are wise, some truths, and more. Find my emails in Google. Okay, man, gotcha. We'll mark this as look into. All right. There we go. Sorry. See, I don't cherry pick emails, you guys. We're all sitting here at the same coffee table. I got 5 minutes left. I got exciting news. I actually got my new possible right next door town. Come on. Tech people got back to me, and I have a meeting set up for 10:30. And it's 5 to 10 right now, and I'm going to give myself a good solid half hour to get my shit together, because I guess these techies do their meetings online, and I got this link for something I've never heard of, and I'm scared I'm going to screw it up, so I'm going to give myself half an hour to make sure I can figure the shit out. This is titled, We Seen the Light. Hello, Steve. After listening to your vlogs for over a year, you jogged a memory I had buried for years. Steve, I'm 65 years old. I am 65 years old and a retired Canadian Pacific Railway police constable with 35 years of service working in Ontario. In the mid-70s, I was invited to a deer camp in Restoule, Restoule, approximately 30 kilometers south of North Bay, Ontario. To get to camp, we drove approximately 8 kilometers on a logging road, then another 3 to 5 kilometers on a 2-track road, using 4-wheelers to arrive at our destination. The camp is 80 feet long and 30 feet wide, with 2 4x3 windows in the main room, which will come into play later in my story. In the main room, there is 7 bunk beds and a large picnic table where an oil lamp is lit before we turned in for the night. My bunk was next to one of the windows, which gave me a good view during daytime. Steve, we were all in our bunks, and some of the guys were sleeping, while the rest of us were talking of what happened that day. All of a sudden, without warning, and no sound, a bright light appeared through the window, lighting up the outside and inside of the cabin brighter than daylight. As I looked out the window, I could tell the light was coming from the sky and appeared to be shimmering, if that makes any sense. As I got up from my bunk towards the door, I was told not to go out. As soon as it appeared, it was gone. This lasted maybe 5 to 10 seconds. In the morning, we all tried to figure out where the light came from and how it was so bright, but we could not come up with an explanation. P.S. Sorry, Steve, I don't have any railway stories. But like you, I believe these rail crews have seen things while traveling in the north parts of the provinces, but are afraid of being ridiculed by their peers. Keep kicking out the vlog, Steve, as you are helping thousands of people from going bonkers from what they saw, LOL. MGM, retired railway bull. Okay, yeah, I agree with you, man, and appreciate you sending that in. Yeah, it's too bad. I wonder, you know what? If we had those railway guys and gals, if they listened to everybody here, I'll bet you their confidence would build and they would spill. Man, there's not enough time in life. You know what? Running out of time nonstop. I mean, if I could, holy shit, I would be in the front of one of those trains every single night, going through just traveling from Alberta to coastal BC on a train at night would be probably, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. I'd be glued to that window. Glued to it. Those lights are so frickin' bright on trains, they would light up that whole frickin' valley you're traveling through. The Fraser Canyon, along the Fraser River alone. It would light up both sides of that river from, you'd see everything. The shit you would see running a train at night, or even daytime, obviously. Just through British Columbia from Alberta. Or how about train tracks going from north BC to southern BC? I'll tell you what, man, those trains go through some pretty remote country, and a lot of those trains in British Columbia, a lot of the train tracks, there's a lot of sightings from hunters, right? A lot. Yeah, I love hearing from rail workers. Love it. Because it's always been a curiosity for me. I've used train tracks numerous times for me just getting into my secret spots to travel through. Anyway, there you go. I'm going to get my ass moving. Now the fear thing. The fear thing definitely has a lot to do with us in life. Right? Fear and us. The energy, whatever it is a weakness that we develop from being scared. And if we are conditioned to be scared, we are way more easily manipulated, right? Mainstream is full of nothing but topics to keep us scared. Oh, so-and-so got murdered today. 4 people died in a plane crash. 4 people died on the highway today. A man was stabbed and shot. People disappeared. Gangs did this. That's the main theme of mainstream news to the human herd. Is fear-based stories, fear-themed stories. Why is that? Seriously, why is that? You ever wonder why that is? Right? Why is that? Why is 99% of our attention being drawn to what should keep us fucking scared? So, knowing that, buck against it. Don't be scared of shit. Right? For me, the point I am at life right now, whatever is being brought to my attention via possibly mainstream, whatever the theme is, I go the opposite. And it's really, really, really working out for me. Go the opposite. I'm not scared of shit. I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared. Right? I was scared that night in the woods. Yes, I was. Without a doubt. But when it comes to human beings, nothing's there, man. Nothing. No fright. Anyway, rambling, babbling. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Get it to me, please. Or get it out to somebody. I don't give a shit if you do it here or somewhere else. Just get it out, alright? Just get it out. And then I'll be back tomorrow. Here we go. Another day.